Kat and her boyfriend Jim wake up and get ready for work. While waiting for Kat to finish, Jim steps onto the balcony for some fresh air when he suddenly notices an old woman standing on a nearby rooftop. He calls out to her, asking if she's okay. But before he can process what he's seeing, Kat gets ready to leave for work. On their way, Jim and Kat notice police officers restraining someone and an ambulance carrying a lifeless body. They assume it's just an ordinary accident and don't give it much thought. After dropping off Kat at her workplace, Jim retraces his route and is surprised to see that the previous scene of commotion has disappeared. Jim then heads to his usual coffee shop for breakfast. While sipping his drink, he remains unaware that the same old woman he saw earlier has just entered. Suddenly, she attacks customers. Chaos erupts as those she bites or scratches become infected within moments and start attacking others. Panic sets in as the infection rapidly takes over the city, turning people into mindless killers. Jim dodges the attacks and manages to escape. When he finally reaches home, he is still struggling to comprehend what is happening. He desperately tries to call Kat, but she doesn't answer. He texts her, unaware that his infected neighbor has already slipped inside his apartment. Without warning, the neighbor pounces on him, attacking him savagely. Jim barely manages to escape, but suffers a deep wound. Determined to reunite with Kat, Jim rushes to retrieve his motorcycle, still parked outside the coffee shop. However, as soon as he reaches it, the infected spot him and immediately give chase. Meanwhile, Kat is on a train, heading to work. An older man seated beside her starts a conversation, asking about the book she's reading. Kat responds briefly, but the man continues talking, making her uncomfortable. Shortly after, the train stops to pick up new passengers, including a young man wearing dark sunglasses. Moments later, the young man unexpectedly pulls out a knife and begins stabbing people around him. Panic erupts inside the train. Passengers scream as blood splatters across the floor. Some attempt to restrain the attacker, but before long, the infection spreads, turning people into bloodthirsty maniacs. The chubby woman sitting near Kat isn't spared. She is brutally attacked, losing an eye in the chaos. As the train pulls into the next station, desperate passengers rush to escape. Kat frantically runs through the train corridor, supporting the injured chubby woman as best as she can. However, the woman is too weak to keep up, and they stumble. Suddenly, the old man who had been on the train earlier appears again, pursuing them. Desperate, Kat grabs the woman's hand and tries to flee, but they accidentally collide with a stranger and beg for help. The man, unaware of the true danger, attempts to fend off the old man, assuming he is merely a disturbed pursuer. However, the old man lunges at the stranger, biting into him viciously before killing him. Without wasting time, Kat and the woman make their way to a nearby hospital, hoping for safety. Meanwhile, Jim speeds through the devastated city on his motorbike. He notices a group of zombies brutally attacking a man in the middle of a basketball court. Jim tries to intervene, but it's too late. The man is already infected, and Jim is soon surrounded and forced to flee. At the hospital, Kat and the woman find temporary refuge among other uninfected survivors. News of the outbreak is soon broadcasted on television, but instead of reassurance, it only sparks anger among the people in the hospital. One man, enraged by the government's inability to control the situation, lashes out, leading to a heated fight. Police officers step in to restore order. Amid the commotion, Kat suddenly spots the old man who had chased them in the train corridor, and without a second thought, she flees. Jim finally manages to contact Kat. She tells him she's hiding in the hospital and begs him to come for her. Suddenly, a horde of zombies chases her upstairs. She frantically searches for a place to hide. She grabs a fire extinguisher and sprays the infected old man before beating him repeatedly. Blood splatters everywhere. Just then, she sees someone in a hazmat suit who urges her to enter a secured room. Inside, she meets a doctor, the same one Jim had seen on the news. He explains more about the virus and instructs Kat to wash herself to determine if she has been infected. He then informs her that a rescue helicopter will be arriving on the rooftop, urging her to leave with him immediately. As they prepare to leave, Kat notices the axe is missing and asks the doctor about it. Before she can get an answer, a zombie suddenly swings the axe, striking the doctor in the leg and he collapses in agony. He starts shooting at the infected, and then pleads with Kat to carry him upstairs. But before she can react, the door behind them bursts open, and Jim appears, now fully transformed into one of the infected. The doctor fires at Jim, causing him to stumble, but when he attempts a second shot, Jim viciously attacks and kills the doctor. Kat, refusing to waste a second, grabs the key, locks the barrier door, and runs. She watches as Jim, now nothing more than a monster, calls out to her, trying to lure her into opening the door. She doesn't fall for it. Instead, she sprints upstairs, where she finally spots a helicopter waiting for her.